Hey everyone, it's me, Arthur Kade, and Grace Helbig. We are at this gorgeous restaurant, Oceana in New York. I'm going to sit down and eat with you, but instead I'm going to talk about your new show debuting on E! The Grace Helbig Show, Friday, April 3rd at 10:30. Hey everyone, it's me, Arthur Kade. Grace Helbig, I'm so jealous because I want a show on E! And you have a show on E! And it looks like it's going to be a total bonkers fun fest.
Yeah.
Talk to me all about it.
I'm really excited. We're trying to create this hybrid talk show that is similar to what you've seen in other talk shows, but infuses a lot of the internet and is hosted by me. And somehow E! Agreed to all of that. And I don't know if they were drugged at the time or if they lost a bet, but there's no takebacks.
When you go from YouTube to being on television, that transition, it's got to be such a sobering yet ridiculously cool situation.
It's really, really cool. And I guess I'm a workaholic, so I don't take a lot of time to reflect on the things that are happening. Instead, I try and focus on creating great content, and then later on I'll appreciate my own efforts at some point. But it's really great, and there's an excitement for it, and there's also a little bit of pressure of wanting to really uphold the name of Team Internet and make them proud, but also create something that feels new, that a new audience on television that I haven't been exposed to will enjoy.
Talk to me about, when you get started, people don't understand, and I've started the same way. You start on the internet and you begin to build this following. Talk to me about your beginnings because it's a great success story.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I started out, I moved to New York from New Jersey, and I was involved in comedy, and I started making web videos for fun while I auditioned for TV and film and commercials, thinking that was the only path to success in the entertainment world. And then slowly started to see that YouTube was becoming a viable career option for people, that people were making content.
Can you believe you can even say that?
It's very,
Crazy.
it's so strange. It's so strange. My grandmother and great-grandmother they would have no idea what's happening right now. They'd be so absolutely confused.
Wait, Grace has a job? No.
Doing what? Doing what? I know, it took me a while to explain to my parents that I make videos on the internet and it's not pornography. And now they finally understand that. So now there's this whole new world that we're trying to create, which is the hybrid between old and new media. And I don't know how it's going to go, but I want to maintain the authentic relationship that I have with the audience. When I started making these web videos, you're talking directly to a camera, directly to the audience. You are having a two-way conversation, and the more I started to make them, the more excited I got about them. And a website called My Damn Channel hired me to make videos for them, for their website, for 4 or 5 years in a series called Daily Grace. And through that, I really got to experience the business side of YouTube and see what brand building is really all about. And then at the end of 2013, beginning of 2014, I launched my own YouTube channel, independent of My Damn Channel, called It's Grace, and kind of went off from there and tried to figure out how to start doing all these other things. I had spent years figuring out my tone and my brand and my voice and my audience, and now it's figuring out how can I create other forms of content in this tone for this audience.
You get the call from me, and they're like, Grace, we think you're worth it. We're going to greenlight this thing. We're moving you to TV. What's the reaction? What's going through your head?
The reaction is excitement, because that's what you want, but there's also some trepidation because you hear all these stories about big scary networks coming in and giving you a ton of notes and changing your ideas and
The old Larry David model.
Right, altering your integrity, and so you are wary. But I haven't had that experience with E! At all, which feels like, knock on wood, kind of bizarre, but also so wonderful that they, I think, are one of the first networks that I've talked to that really understand the power of influence in a social media way and really respect the integrity of a relationship between an internet personality and their audience, because it's the audience, they're my friends and they're my boss at the same time. And E knows that they can't compromise that. It just doesn't work that way. An audience can smell bullshit from a mile away. And so if they tried to change me or the gimmick or the whatever it is, you would lose the value and you would lose the audience. And so they've taken a chance and have been so understanding and respectful and encouraging that I feel like very spoiled by the whole situation.
When I look at your stuff, we get the screeners, and I'm like, what is this all going to be about? Because I'm, again, old, and I don't watch YouTube videos. I mean, I watch the viral stuff Jimmy puts
Sure.
up. That's about the extent of it.
Sure.
I'm like, this girl has something. She has something that has her pulse on doing it differently. Talk to me about, because you'd mentioned the word brand, and people don't understand what building a brand is. But when you were building your brand, what was it that you wanted to get across and create?
Well, when I first was making web videos, it was simply just a hobby to express myself in the comfort of my own home, rather than have to go to auditions to try and get hired in a television show to express myself comedically. And so it never was about building a brand. I didn't know that that was something that could happen. So when the videos started taking off and it became my career, you unintentionally start to see your YouTube channel as a channel, the same way there's channels on television, and you start to see it as this like full little ecosystem where an audience exists in, and because you can talk directly to the people watching and get feedback, you find out who they are, what they're into, why they watch you, where they live, which is really helpful in terms of understanding the numbers that you're talking to, because you can't see the audience when you're talking to them through a YouTube video. You just kind of hope that the numbers are real people and have to assume who they are. And once I realized that my audience was for the majority female and for the majority millennials and teenagers and 20-somethings that saw me as kind of their awkward older sister, friend person, it made what I was doing so much more clear to me, and I was able to create content a lot easier than I had been before, because I knew who I was speaking to. And I knew also at the end of the day, if I was making content that I was proud of, that I would want to watch if I wasn't me in it, that was successful, and how I should be measuring everything, because it makes it a lot easier than just sitting down at a computer and thinking, well, I could make anything in the world. There's infinite ideas, and that can be really overwhelming. So knowing who it is and speaking directly to them makes things a little more simple.
How ridiculous it would to be on the Tonight Show last night. Do you just sit there? I heard you say your dad was with you. Do you just sit there and say, this can't be real? It
was very bizarre, and it was extra bizarre because I interned for Conan when he was in the same studio before, and so I knew those hallways and I knew the stage, and now to be there in a completely different circumstance was so strange. But Jimmy was so nice and just a real...
He's the best.
He was just
He's the best.
He was a human being. Can you believe it? He was an actual human being, and just very grounded and relatable. And it was so exciting to see someone with such success in this entertainment industry world thing be such a normal, kind human being. And it really resonated for me and made me have remember this emotion, Grace Helbig, how Jimmy's making you feel right now.
You're like, when I'm making $25 million a year, I'm not going to be ordering people around like slaves.
No, that his kindness was infectious and created a really great work environment. And so just kind of put that in my Rolodex of emotional moments to refer to if I feel stuck in the show or in the entertainment world in general.
You're building a little empire outside of the show. Books. I mean, tell me about all this other stuff, because again, you having that following, it's crazy to see how much you can expand outside of just the YouTube channel and television.
Yeah, I mean, I think traditional celebrities have been doing it for a long time. They've written books and created all sorts of shows and perfumes and clothing lines and all of that, and YouTubers are now doing the same thing. There's opportunity for growth and expansion, and there's a lot of really intelligent, creative people online that can do more than just make videos, and I wanted to do that. I've never been pinpointed in my career path and say I'm only going to be in movies. That's it. Nothing else, just that. Instead, I've kept myself open to creative opportunities. And I wrote a book last year, and that came up through two of my close friends had sold their books, and I'm a little competitive, so I wanted to get in on that. But at the same time, I wanted to see what would happen, and I met an editor who just was a great human being, and saying yes to working with someone like that really is what pushed the book forward. And now the television show is, I met a really great production company and a really great CEO.
You're
that
like, I've got one up on my friends now.
Yeah,
Like,
I was
got you
like,
there.
Come on, guys, catch up.
Mic drop. I win.
Yeah, but it's just I've met some really great people that have wanted to figure out new ways to create content, and everything right now, I mean, it's still, as much as YouTube has been like figured out and mined over the years, it's still, people are pioneering new ways to do things, and I like being in the start of something new and being there in the very beginning. I feel like I got into YouTube at just the right time. Had I waited a couple years, it would be a much more difficult process to get things seen and discovered and to build a brand. So I've been trying to now figure out how I can get into things before other people are doing them easier, I guess.
Is there a pressure knowing that you are essentially the first to go into this a large platform? Like, is there pressure that, hey, I have to do this right, I have to succeed, or are you just like, I want to have fun with this, and whatever happens, happens?
Yeah, I mean, there's both of those things. I do feel a pressure that, there online, everyone says like team internet, when someone in the internet community does something great, there's a huge support system there. It's the one of the huge reasons I really kind of loved being a part of YouTube, is that there's support in the community, and everything's based on collaboration, whereas in television, a show on ABC can't promote a show on NBC, but my other friend's YouTube channel can promote my YouTube channel and vice versa. So there's a pressure to represent Team Internet and do a good job for them, but at the same time, I know that I make my favorite content when I'm having a good time. So I try to find the balance between representing where I came from appropriately and then also enjoying myself in the process.
Top 3 dream gets.
Oh gosh, okay. Top 3. One is The Rock. This has happened over the last week and a half that I've been talking about my dream guest, and I really think he would be it. I think he's really, really wonderful, and I think he'd be just really fun and down for anything. Another dream guest would probably be, I'd love to have Jimmy Fallon on my show and have the tables turn a little bit.
Negotiating that backstage.
I know.
You should have been like, Jimmy, I'm not going on unless you come on my show.
I won't sign these papers until you sign some for me. I know, but I think it would be fun. I really like seeing people that are in a host scenario have to be the interviewee.
It's hard. It's easy
I'm
when
sure
you're
you've done that.
I hate being talked to.
Really?
I follow the Howard Stern model of depression, where when I'm not doing this professionally, I don't want to see people. I hate people.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
She's like, you need to be committed, kid.
Good to know. So good to know. I also think Michelle Obama would just be pretty amazing, and that sounds even ridiculous to even say Michelle Obama, come be a guest on my show. But I think she would just be really lovely and have one of those radiant personalities that you just are naturally attracted to. And yeah, I think it'd be really great to see her do some sort of silly, dumb activity with me.
Nailed it. Nailed it.
I'm like the bad actor today who doesn't know his lines.
No, you're